All right then. Well, how about that for an opening to Open Pagan Church? Ha! Today's topic: stress. Today's topic is stress, and I'll be damned if Facebook wasn't fixing to stress me out. Facebook uses a streaming key, and that streaming key has to go into the software. And then Facebook didn't want to take its own streaming key. So, good morning, good afternoon, and in some places around the world, good evening. Happy Sunday to you, and a quick shout out. Open Pagan Church this morning is being done on Mother's Day here in the U.S. I know that the UK, I think, was either last week or next week. I don't remember. If I missed it, happy Mother's Day. If I didn't miss it, happy upcoming Mother's Day. Right. Well, um, last week, I didn't have a voice. I know that some people would probably be happy that I didn't have a voice. Much better this week. Well, thank you to those of you that are watching live. To those of you that are going to be watching the pre recorded broadcast, if you're watching it today, happy Mother's Day. If you're watching it later, you missed Mother's Day. Stress. Wow. Stress is a good topic, most especially in these day and times. We deal with different forms of stresses than our ancestors did. Are they worse? Are they less? Are they more intense? Um, do we have to deal with less stresses nowadays than the ancestors did? I don't think so. I don't think we have to deal with any more or any less life stress overall. The ancestors had to deal with the stress of attacking clans, other people coming in and attacking their cities. Excuse me. They had to deal with feeding their families, just like we do now, tending to their responsibilities, just like we do now. I think in some ways, if we take a look at kids, our children, the our future, those who are going to take care of us in our aging years, we hope. I think their stresses are a bit higher in a much different world than even my parents, my parents' parents. Because, granted, every child everywhere has always had to deal with bullies. Bullies will always be, they always have been. It's all in how we teach our kids to deal with them. So that's one stress. The stress of going to school, making the grade, trying to get the good grades so that they can graduate and go on and be something in their lives. Well, that in and of itself, school is a stress, a big stress. Well, then children get up into puberty. Wow, puberty. That's one of the big reasons I'd never want to go back to being a kid. I hated puberty. Wow, hated puberty. Yeah. Puberty is nasty. In some ways, it's fun, but in a lot of ways, it's nasty. Also, something many parents may not think about. We are in the golden age of global communication. Global communication. Our preteens, early teens, late teens, and even into adulthood, many people today are forming what we call long distance relationships. You know, um, my daughter at one point had a boyfriend that was clear in another city. Never even met him. I'm like, okay, whatever. Um, I've had long distance girlfriends. Relationships today are global. Okay. Um, One of my best friends in the world is in Scotland. Um, I've got other really good friends the world over that I've never even met face to face. But the stresses of today for young folk, they're not just dealing with peer pressure. They're not just dealing with drugs and drugs and alcohol that we had to deal with when we were kids. But the drugs of today, man, one hit, you're done. Talk about a one hit wonder. Some of the drugs that are out there today, man, that some of these kids are trying is, wow, ridiculous, as it were. So essentially, our young people of today have to deal with some pretty serious stresses that we didn't when we were kids. Some people say homework is a lot easier today because of the internet. Some of it is, right? If you're doing an essay on history, Google is your friend. If you're writing a paper on a particular author or something, Google can be your friend. But if you're doing math or arithmetic, you can YouTube other how other people do it. But even still, that's still a stress. But there's another stress that I want to talk about that really destroys a lot of people. It destroys their freedoms. It can destroy their very way of life. And I'm talking about the stress of religion. The stress of religion. Granted, it's not as likely here in 2018. It's not as likely for you to be burned at the stake for being a witch, um, or for you to be ridiculed and stoned for not being Christian. It's not as likely. It does still happen in some areas of the world. For what a shame that is, really. I mean, but the stresses of religion. Over the years, how many people have come to me going, um, kids, mid teens, late teens, I've been kicked out of my house because I'm pagan. Yeah. I've been kicked out of my house because I'm gay. I've been kicked out of my house because I fell in love with someone who's a different color, a different belief system. Um, I've been kicked out of my house because I'm different, because I'm not like everyone else. But the stresses of religion, for some reason, have always been very hard to get around. Now, I personally and my family was very fortunate. Excuse me, pardon me. Wow. I was always allowed in my home to choose my religion, study it, learn it. As long as I lived what I said I was, I had no problems. As long as I was a good person. My parents didn't care what I believed in, as long as I was a good person. But so many people have to deal with the stress of religion. And we've talked about discrimination multiple times. We've talked about people losing jobs because of their religion, people getting divorced because of their religion. But let's talk about the internal stress. I know the years of the internal stress that I went through trying to figure out what the hell I was. What was this belief system I had? Where, why did I have to deal with the stress of choosing a religion to begin with? Well, with today's topic being stress, I'd like for people to put in the chat what stresses they had to deal with in choosing their religion. Now, when you're choosing a religion, you got to start with a core, right? Am I Jewish? Am I Christian? Am I Muslim? Am I atheist? Am I pagan? And a lot of people say, I'm Wiccan. That's the religion. No, Wicca is not the religion. Wicca is a denomination of paganism. So you first have to start with education. You know, um, if you believe that a single male God sent his son to die for your sins on a cross, you might be Christian. If you believe that the world, we are governed by multiple gods and goddesses, and that there's a balance, or should be a equalitarian balance of masculine and feminine, not always male and female, but masculine and feminine, you might be pagan, and every variable in between. But the stresses that people go through in just trying to choose a belief system. Um, Sally says, I never knew there was another way. I was always forced, she was forced to be Baptist. And that is more a commonality than it is an oddity. And I'll tell you, people that are raised in small communities, or hell for that matter, even big cities, when you live in a home with a very strong parental figure, most parents are going to force their kids to go to the church that they attend. So therefore, they end up cubicalizing their children, and in that cubicle mentality, they only learn one way. Now, like I say, I was fortunate. I was not cubicalized in my religion. I was opened to the world and said, there's thousands of them out there. You have to choose what's right for you. And we are doing the same thing for our daughter. Morning, Dave. We're doing the same thing for our daughter in that there are thousands of different religions out there. You want to choose what works for you, and you want to become educated in that. So we have tried to remove that stress from her in making her decisions in her spiritual life. Um, Debbie says she never realized there was a whole lot of stress in it. The stress didn't begin until after she realized she was shaman. Well, there is that, but when you're raised in an environment where there is no cubicalized religion, where you are forced to be what your parents tell you to be, religion-wise, that's one less stress you have to deal with. But when you're dealing with the stresses as an adult, and nowadays, especially in the last 5 to 10 years, the movement of more and more people over the last 20 years I know of stepping up and saying, no, I'm tired of the Judeo fundamentalist philosophies of the time of society. I'm tired of society telling me I have to be one thing or another. And it's not just in America in the Judeo-Christian philosophy. So for so long, the philosophy of mainstream America was that America was founded on Christianity. It was not. America was founded on the freedom of religion. Well, then you have Britain, Japan, Korea, um, Russia. You know, all of these countries have their fundamental base, if you will, of a religion that they want all of their people to follow because they figure there's less hassle. When in all reality, if you give people the freedom of their own religion and you support that freedom, you end up having a lot less stress. Morning, Michelle. Morning, Dave. Morning to everyone else who may be watching in the back end. So again, our topic this morning is actually stress. And the different stresses that we have to deal with in life, most importantly, the stress of religion. Just trying to figure out what religion you are. Are you even a religion? And wow, once you've chosen a religion, such as Christian, pagan, Muslim, Jewish, a lot of those, Christian, pagan, um, Christians and paganism, and there's a few others out there, can't remember, brain fart. But Christianity and paganism for sure have a boatload of denominations that follow under them. That's kind of the purpose for when we started the House of Pagans, right? And when we started the Sunday morning church here on Open Pagan Church. We started it because the foundation that we believe in the pagan philosophy is simple, base, pagan. Anything outside of that is path specific. It's a denomination of paganism. And, Dave says teaching fear to children is very wrong. Debbie, agree, Dave, totally. That's one of the things I was talking about a minute ago. When, when we're dealing with our children, we need to teach our children to embrace individuality. Don't fear other people because they're different. I know of two jobs that I've lost because I'm pagan. I know of real good friends of mine that have lost jobs because they're gay. What the hell reason? What does that have to do with whether or not they can do their job? Sally says, "I'm so glad you started this. Good. The HOP, and this is something that I want to voice right here, and now, okay? House of Pagans, Open Pagan Church, is not about me, right? Um, I'm not the only person in the world that's ever had this idea. I just happen to be one of the few people with enough gumption to, you know, to really push it forward, to really keep it going. And I'll be honest with you, a couple of months ago, I was seriously considering pulling the plug. People just didn't seem interested. Well, took a little time and meditation in the homeland, some discussion with some really important people, and some serious soul searching, if you will. And I come to the realization and was reminded by my spirit guides that my job is not to convert people to paganism. My job is to give people a place to go that do not belong anywhere else. That was the whole purpose for the HOP, the formation of the HOP in 99 and 2000, was to give a place for the misfits to go someplace that they didn't belong anywhere else. We've had everything from Christians to Jewish to Muslim to atheists to pagans sitting in our circle, all standing with us hand in hand, raising energy for the common goal. So our purpose, both Open Pagan Church and the HOP, our purpose is to help ease some of the stress of people trying to find a place to belong. Now, because we in uh, the North Dallas area, right now, I do not have a place to actually hold circle. Okay? So we really don't have a place to hold Sunday gatherings. Number one, the average temperature in North Texas is either 110 or 10 degrees and one swing variable to the other. So you're either freezing your ass off or you're roasting. So it's kind of hard to have a comfortable gathering in north central Texas where we live now. So we decided to start the broadcast. Number one, they're recorded. They're posted in several areas, right? We're on YouTube, we're on StumbleUpon, Tumblr, Pinterest. Um, we're all over the place. But when it comes to stress, a lot of times when people say, you seem to be stressed out, The assumption might be that you're stressed out over money, jobs, a place to live, how you're going to pay your bills, what are you going to be able to do from day to day. And I am one. Now, you guys listen to this real close. I am one that will lean on God and Goddess and my spirit guides for guidance, for maybe a better understanding of the way I should do things. But you know what? When it comes down to the stresses of keeping my job, when it comes down to the stresses of paying my bills, working with the household to keep the household going, finding a job, getting a job, that's tough. It's stressful as hell. But at the end of the day, I have to do everything I can within myself to make sure I don't do something stupid to lose my job, lose my home, family, or whatever. Having faith in gods and goddesses is a start. But the number one start, ladies and gentlemen, you gotta have faith in yourself. Faith in yourself and the knowledge that what you're doing is right for you and right for your family can ease some of that stress. Faith in the gods, whichever gods or goddesses you follow, can ease some of the stress within yourself, within element one. Element one for human is spirit. If you can ease some of the stress in spirit, sometimes it makes it a little easier to handle other things, other stresses in life. But I've heard people say, put it all in the hands of the gods. Hand it all over to them. God will handle everything. No. To me, and I say again, to me, it is irresponsible for me to take all of my toothpicks, okay? For me to take all of my stresses and all of my toothpicks and hand them to the gods and say, here, you deal with it. No. I reach out to the gods for assistance, for guidance. What is the best way for me to handle this? How should I handle this? I'm not going to put my entire life in the triad's hands and sit back on my fat ass and watch TV and wait on them to do it. The gods are not going to get you off of your ass and out to do what needs to be done. Right? So if you're sitting there watching TV, playing video games, doing the cell phone blind thing because you don't want to deal with life, and you're putting everything into the hands of the gods and saying, here, you handle it, I'm done. No. The gods can guide you. They can help you. They can say, okay, we're going to give this a push. We're going to, like, when I'm trying for different jobs and what have you, we're going to give this a push. But it's up to you to do the work. It's up to you to do the work. Now, if some of you misheard what I said, and some of you might get a little pissed off about what I said, once the broadcast is over, I suggest you go back and listen to it again. Because if you think about it, it makes perfect sense. Think about it this way. My daughter's 12. I am 56. That's 5'6". By me taking all of my responsibilities and handing them to my gods and goddesses and saying, you deal with it. I'm going to watch TV. They are going to fall out of their chair laughing and going, you need to get your head out and handle your own responsibilities. Well, like Debbie says, I need help, guys. Right. Sally, got to meet them halfway. You can reach out for assistance. But at the end of the day, it comes down to your responsibility to take care of things you have to do. Like I started to say, that would be like my daughter bringing in all of her schoolwork and dropping it in Mama's lap and going, here, you do it. And she goes over and picks up her cell phone. That wouldn't last 2 seconds. That much I promise you. So, for those who are building up stress, expecting someone else to do it, reaching out for a helping hand is one thing. But the expectation of the gods to do it for you is a fool's errand. So if you're building up stress, trying to get the gods to do it for you, you're on a fool's errand. But if you're willing to take the next step, willing to walk through that mud of life, the best way to relieve stress is to take a deep breath and get a better look at your environment, what's going on around you, and what you are doing for you. At the end of the day, stress is something that we pull on ourselves. Now that's just my thought of it. But I do want to take just a few moments. I've got to let my voice rest for a minute. And I want to give people a few minutes to put into the chat area some of the stresses you may be dealing with right now. Type them out. Put them in the chat area. Start a dialogue. These are my stresses. These are what's going on in my life right now. Sometimes it'll help. Let's take a minute. I need to cough. I need to clear my clear my voice. Let it rest a minute. We'll be right back. Oh, there won't be any music. It will be silence. It will be a couple of moments. Um, so we're going to take a pause for the cause. We'll be right back in a couple of minutes. You guys keep posted. Put in there just a one-liner what your stress is today. What your stresses are right now. Dave's just finding a job. Yep. Sally's taking care of her elderly mom. Elderly mom. Yep. Michelle says working is her stress, and I agree with you. If you only work from home and you never actually have a interactive office with that office camaraderie, if you only work from home, it is isolating. Isolating, absolutely. Dave says dealing with my daughter. Well, if you're a parent and you got kids, that's a stress. Yes, I know you can. Yes, I know my audio is still on. Davey says, we can still hear you. I know. By the way, I'm back. Cindy says we need a money tree. Cindy, you figure out where to get a hold of a money tree. You need to let me know, girl. Yeah, I'll damn sure partake of some of that. Is my mic on? Oops. I had my mic turned up out of the way. Sorry, guys. All right. Yep. Sorry. My I had, had my mic stuck up, and I'm sitting here reading your post, just commenting to them like I got good sense. Okay. Um. Drum. Cindy says drum. Drum. Yep. Need a money tree. Sally is not only taking care of her elderly mom, but her sons. Now, let me explain something to you here. Our topic is stress, right? Our topic is stress, right? Well, right. All right. Post in the chat area if you can still hear me okay. Um, I'm being told that after I come back from break, audio is not what it was. All right. So Dave says one. All right. So let's talk about this this stress that I'm seeing over here. Okay. That's a good idea, Michelle. Michelle says she saged the house yesterday, especially around her work area. Sally says, I try, there's that word again, try not to stress. I try not to stress. I'm trying to meditate. I'm trying to do what's right. Try. A very dangerous word, this thing, try. A very dangerous word, this thing, try. Because the harder we try, the more stress, the more stressed, the harder we try, the more stressed we get. And the more stressed we get because we're trying so hard, we end up winding ourselves up in a very tight little ball over trying so hard. Like Debbie says, sometimes trying causes more stress than just acknowledging it all. And I had I want to tell you just a little short story, okay? Maybe this will help some of you understand what I'm talking about by trying too hard can build up stress, right? I'm going to give you a little humbling experience I had the other day. And there is a very wonderful, very amazing Tibetan temple in Scotland that allows you to come in and sit and listen to the monks and listen to the monks and their meditation. I was able to spend some time in the temple in meditation. There were many messages given to me. And when I got back to Texas and got back to work, the first Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday I was back to work. I almost lost my job 3 times because of my anger and my mouth. But a friend of mine from work calls me on the way home. I think it was Wednesday evening. And he's an older guy. He's a little older than I am, I think. Been with the company since Moby Dick was a minnow. And he reminded me of a few things. He reminded me that I am one of the highest respected, highest paid technicians and team leads at my company, at the company that I work for. He reminded me that by me stressing out over all of this crap that I can't change, that I'm simply a part of because I have no power within the company to change it, that all of this anger, anxiety, and stress, and everything else that I've been building up is only going to cost me my job. Then what am I going to do? I am 56 years old. I have 30 years experience in the computer industry. And I have been in management or leadership of one kind or another since I was 20 years old. Nobody, nobody, anywhere is going to hire me at the rate I am making right now at the age I'm at. They're just not going to do it. So I came to a realization. I have a higher work ethic than many people do. I have a higher I have a higher expectation of myself than most people. But what I needed to realize is the position I'm in, doing the job that I do, being paid the salary that I'm being paid. I need to continue doing the best job I can and stop worrying about the crap that I can't change. Now, this fella is Christian, and as we all know, even though I'm pagan, I do believe in the serenity prayer. And if you don't know what the serenity prayer is, Google it, because I assure you it's a real good thing to recite to yourself daily. Give me the wisdom to change the things that I can and make those changes and not worry about the things I can't change. So, each of us, every one of you watching our broadcast today, each of you that have been posting in the chat, I love it. Keep it going because it gives us something to talk about. But every one of you watching our broadcast, both pre-recorded and live, you've each got your own stresses. And I know that to you, your stress is worse than everybody else's. It is. Your stress is worse than everybody else's because it's your stress. But it's how you deal with it. The harder you try the harder you build stress to try. Eventually, you wind yourself up in a situation of going nowhere because you will eventually wind yourself so tight that you can't see what's right in front of you. I'm notorious for it. I will become so angry and wound up that I can't see what's right in front of me. And I have to stop. I have to, excuse me, I have to pull back just a little bit. And I have to go, wait a minute. I'm doing the best that I can. Or am I? Am I not winding myself up so tight at work, at home, trying to get things done, that before I know it, I have wound myself up so tight that all I'm doing is sitting in one place worrying about the things I'm not getting done? That eventually I do nothing. And I see it happen all the time. We wind ourselves up so tight in the stresses that we have around us that we eventually end up sitting down and throwing our hands up and going to hell with it because we're so wound up we can't get anything done anyway. Where I have started working on a different philosophy for stress. I don't try. Alright? Now I'm going to explain that. I don't try. I just do. When I see something that needs to get done, I get up, I work on it as much as I can, and when I run out of oxygen and I run out of energy, I go just a little bit further than I did before. I push myself just a little bit further than I did before, and then I sit down for a bit, and I catch my breath. But if I become so wound up trying to handle the stresses that are putting me down, then eventually I find myself so wound up I can't do anything. Because all I'm doing is sitting in one place, stressing over the things that I'm not even bothering trying to get done, or that I'm not even bothering doing what I can at the time. Yes, everyone stresses. Yes, everyone has anxieties. Yes, everyone wants to try to do better. My advice to you is do. If you can only wash one dish at a time, wash that one dish. Rinse it, dry it, put it away, sit down for a minute. Because I know many of you are chronic pain survivalists, and that's what it is. You survive every day in chronic pain of one thing or another, or you have breathing issues like I do, or R. You know, you've got gout. You've got one leg. You have nowhere to turn because everything in you hurts and is painful. Or you've got a broken digit that gets in the way. R, 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 R. There are a million R's and a million stresses and a million anxieties that each and every one of us deal with on a daily basis. What it comes down to is taking the word try out of your vocabulary. I say again, take the word try out of your vocabulary, replace it with do what I can. I will do what I can today as much as I can do. Not I will try, I will do. And when you're dealing with your kids, they have their own stresses and anxieties they have to deal with as well. When you're dealing with stress in your religious life, when it comes to religion, do what's right for you. Don't try. Just do. If I can't do right now, right this minute, then I will do a little later. I'm not going to put off till tomorrow what I can do today. But I'm going to do today what I'm capable of doing. I'm not going to try. I'm just going to do. Allow yourself some time to ease off on your stresses. If you're stressed out because working from home has you isolated, change the location that you work. I know a number of restaurants out there that will allow you to work from within the restaurant. Makes them money. You can sit right there and eat lunch, drink coffee, buy sodas, whatever. If you have no place else to work, change your environment. Change the way your office looks. Do the things for you that ease your stresses. Because the harder you try, the less you're going to do. And I do want to thank you all for watching Open Pagan Church with us this morning. We'll see you next Sunday right here with another great topic. And I do want you people to PM me with topics. I'm out of topics. If you like it, subscribe. Hit the like button. If you're watching on YouTube, click the little bell so that you get notified when our videos are posted. If you're watching on other social networks, post in with ideas. We look forward to them. I want to thank you again for watching Open Pagan Church. It's always a pleasure to be here with you. And we'll see you next week right here. Have a great week.